Hey Math 6, happy Monday and happy week 5 of distance learning. As always, make sure you're prepared for class with your charged Chromebook, pencil, and a math binder. We are going to be starting a new unit today. Get excited. So you might want your notebook more than ever to jot down some of the new vocabulary terms that you will be reviewing or learning today. And along with our new unit, I just want to share a few reminders. Remember that we have transitioned into Google Classroom, so you will see assignments posted there daily, but still use our DLP as your first go-to. The DLP will have links to the YouTube videos, reminders about when we're meeting in Google Meet, and also have the appropriate links to Google Classroom. Our learning goal for today within our new unit is mathematicians can use words to describe two-dimensional figures. So our new unit is all about 2D figures. So three-dimensional figures would be my eraser, my cell phone, my glasses. 2D shapes and figures are going to be laying flat. So that's what we're going to look into for today. But before we get any further, it is Monday, so we're going to work on our mindfulness meditation practice. So in a moment here, I'm going to ask you to pause, go back to the DLP, and click on the link for today's mindfulness meditation, and I'll see you back here when you're finished. Welcome back. I hope after that mindfulness meditation, you're feeling grounded and ready to take on not only a new day, but also a new week. I know it was labeled Sunday Scaries, and Sunday Scaries might be something you've never experienced, or maybe you experienced the Monday Scaries, but often that's a feeling that some people have when they're kind of closing out the weekend, rounding out the weekend, and beginning to transition back into a work week or a school week. So just because it said Sunday Scaries doesn't mean you can only watch it on Sunday. This is a great meditation that you can come back to whenever you're feeling a little stressed out about transitioning back into school, back into a school day, back into a school week. Also remember that mindfulness meditation doesn't need to just happen on Mondays. That's just when I'll be sharing a new one with you. You can always come back to meditation when your mind feels busy, when you're feeling stressed, even when you're feeling calm and you just want to focus your mind on your breathing and being present. It's always something you can come back to. All right. And with that, we're going to hop into our new unit, which, like I said, is on 2D figures. So let's go through some vocabulary today that's going to really set the stage for our new unit. Today and tomorrow are going to be pretty vocabulary heavy, and the reason behind that is we're going to be coming back to these words as we study different 2D shapes. So it's important that we have a really solid foundation of these words before we really apply them by looking at different types of lines and shapes. So on each slide that we're going to look at, we're going to have a vocabulary word that's going to be highlighted in yellow. We're going to have a definition, and then we're going to have what it looks like and how it's represented, and then we're also going to see how it's written. So let's start out with a point. A point is an exact location in space. And you'll see a point on a flat surface or a plane represented by a dot, and then a point is also represented with one letter. It's not always P. Similar to a variable, it can be swapped in and out for various letters. So it could be a point represented by H or I or A or C. That point, that letter could change. And we can see it written as just the letter that represents the point, or spelled out as point P or point H. Our next important term is a line. A line is a straight path of points that goes on forever in two directions. So we'll see down here our line. We know it's a line because of those two arrows that show that the line goes on forever and ever and ever and ever to both the right and the left, both directions. But we also have 2 points on our line. So we're going to use 2 points on a line or any 2 points on a line to name it. So you'll see the points here, C and D, represented, C and D or DC. So the order when you're naming a line doesn't matter. But what is important to note also is that above the points on the line, you see a line with 2 arrows, representing that it goes on forever in both directions. This is going to be a little different than array. So array is just part of a line. It has one endpoint, and then the other extends forever in one direction. Every time I say One Direction, I think of the band One Direction. So if you see me smiling or laughing at myself during this, it's because of One Direction. And if you don't know who One Direction is, you need to pause this video and go Google One Direction. You'll have it's like a boy band, you'll have their songs stuck in your head for the rest of the day. Anyway, back to math. So here we have array, so we have our endpoint M. We have another point here, but it's not an endpoint. It's just a point on the line that extends forever. When we name array, we always want to start with our endpoint and then pick another point on our array. So endpoint is M, another point on the line is N. You'll also notice above MN, we have array. So we have a straight line, but just with one arrow. Still talking about lines, we have a line segment. So a line segment is part of a line that has 2 endpoints. So it doesn't include the part that goes on in one direction or both directions forever. It's just part of the line segment. Segment, the word segment, literally means part. So that can be helpful to help you remind you of a line segment. And a line segment here, CD, can be named CD or DC, and you'll notice the line above the points, the endpoints, can go in either direction. So very similar to a line that has CD or DC, a line segment can also be written in 2 ways. But remember, the array has to start with the endpoint first, MM. All right, then we have congruent line segments. So congruent line segments are line segments that are the same length. It could be 2 congruent line segments, there could be 100 congruent line segments. But the word congruent means same or equal to. So here we have 2 line segments that are the same length. They are congruent. So we're going to name those line segments CD here. And we're going to name this line segment EF. So the way we show congruency is by that little symbol in between them, which looks like an equal sign with a squiggle on top. That is our sign for congruent. So you'll see that with our study of geometry, which is what we're in, and specifically 2D figures. I also want to draw your attention to these 2 lines that are cutting through there. Those 2 lines are another signal to us that the line segments are the same length. We're going to see that quite a bit in geometry, especially when we get into the shape portion. Anytime you would see 2 lines between a line segment or sides of a shape, that just means they are congruent or the same. This is also important when we start drawing things because it's really hard to make it exact. But if we put a line through 2 things that are congruent, that's helpful to everyone else to know that even though it might not be perfect, they are the same. Now, if I added 2 other lines on the same space and wanted to show that they're congruent, I might put 2 lines. So here, you see the 2 line segments that have 2 lines are congruent to each other, and the other 2 line segments that just have 1 line are also congruent to each other. So all 4 aren't congruent, but I have 2 pairs of congruent lines. Okay. And lastly, we have what we call the midpoint. The midpoint of a line segment is halfway between the two endpoints, and it forms two congruent line segments. So the midpoint, you can think of it as just cutting the line segment in half. If you cut something or place something exactly in the middle, the two other sides are going to be congruent, or they're going to be equal. So here we have G as our midpoint, and then notice we have those two lines again, which show that line segment CG is congruent to line segment GD. So we have our big line segment CD, and we have midpoint G, which means that CG and GD are congruent, or are equal. Whew, that was a lot of vocabulary. So we're going to pause here for the vocab today, and tomorrow I'm going to introduce some more terms to you and actually get a little more specific with types of lines. But before that, let's chat a little bit about today's assignment and some reminders for the week. For today's assignment, you're going to be creating a poster of the different words that we just talked about today, similar to your inequalities poster that you did previously. So you're going to create a poster. You can do this paper, pencil, or digitally, that shows these different vocabulary words for our new geometry unit on 2D figures. I'd like you to show me an example and a definition for each of them, but you can read more about this assignment in Google Classroom. So there'll be a lot more specific directions there, but that's kind of the big overview. Again, you're creating a poster. You can do it digitally, or you can do it paper, pencil, take a picture, put it in a Google Doc, and submit it via Google Classroom. And as always, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow on Tuesday and Thursday of this week at 11 o'clock for our mandatory Math 6 Gold check-ins. If for some reason you can't make it, please feel free to shoot me an email. If you have questions in the meantime, help each other out, email me, we can hop on a Google Meet. You have a lot of support from me and from your classmates, so make sure you're relying on each other and helping each other out. Have a wonderful start to your week. I miss you guys, and I look forward to seeing your faces in Google Meet tomorrow. Have a great day.